I read somewhere that we attract what we are, not what we want. So a woman who wants to attract a good husband should first become a good wife. She who desires to attract abundance in her life must first become abundant in her thinking and actions. A person who wishes to attract success should start by being successful in small things. It is easier to remain in the same energy as what you are experiencing than shift into a new energy. That is why it is always easy to be negative and difficult to be positive. To hold on to joy and happiness when surrounded by negativity takes practice. It requires you to be aware of the energy you are in and the moment you feel it. Shifting, do something about it before it becomes your norm. I was reading this beautiful story about a surfer who was explaining how he rides the waves. He said, "You cannot control the waves, but you can learn to sail." This is so true. We cannot change what is happening around us, but we can change how we respond to it. The choice is ours. I love the surfer's analogy because it has so many layers. Just like the ocean, life has its ups and downs. There are times when everything is going well, and there are times when it seems as if life is just tossing you around. But the surfer does not fight the waves. He learns to ride them. He surrenders to the wave rather than fighting against it. And that is how we must approach the challenges in our lives. When things get tough, instead of panicking or feeling overwhelmed, we must remain calm and focused. We must keep our eyes on the prize and paddle through the rough waters until we reach the calm waters again. Every challenge is an opportunity to practice patience, to see how long you can remain anchored to your purpose without moving an inch, to see if you can stay rooted to your values while everything around you is shaking. It's a chance to see how far you can go in stillness. As the saying goes, your peace begins where your control ends. And it is only when we learn to let go of the things we cannot control that we can find peace within ourselves. When we realize that we are not in control, we tend to panic. We try to fix things to make them the way we want them, but sometimes the best thing we can do is to let go, to trust that everything will work out for the best, to surrender to the situation and allow things to unfold naturally. This doesn't mean that we become passive. On the contrary, it means that we become more proactive. We focus our attention on the things we can control, on the actions we can take to improve the situation, but we do it from a place of calm, from a place of stillness. We do it without the need to force things, to make them happen. We simply trust that things will happen in their own time. We trust that we are exactly where we need to be. When we learn to let go, when we learn to surrender, we free ourselves from the constant struggle, from the constant stress. We open ourselves up to the possibility of greater peace, of greater joy. We allow ourselves to flow with the natural rhythms of life in the midst of the storm, when everything around you seems to be falling apart, when it feels as if the world is crashing down on you. When you feel like you are losing control, then is when you must remember that you are not in control, that you cannot control the waves, but you can learn to sail. That is when you must anchor yourself to your purpose, to your values, to your goals. That is when you must hold on to your vision and refuse to let go. That is when you must trust that you are exactly where you need to be, because every challenge is an opportunity to practice patience. Every obstacle is a chance to grow, to learn, to evolve. Every storm is a test of your strength, a test of your resilience, and you are stronger than you think. You have weathered storms before, and you have come out of them more resilient, more wise, more patient. You have learned to sail the waves of life and you can do it again. So when you are faced with a challenge, when you are faced with a setback, when you are faced with a wave that seems too big to handle, then remember you are not in control, but you can learn to sail. You cannot control the waves, but you can learn to sail. Let this be your mantra when things don't go your way, when plans fail, when dreams seem to be shattered. Let this be your mantra when you feel like giving up, when you feel like you can't take it anymore. Let this be your mantra when you are faced with a challenge that seems too big to handle, when you are faced with a problem that seems impossible to solve. Remember, you are not in control, but you can learn to sail. Choose peace. Comment below, I choose peace. If you agree, let me know in the comments.